Hi there, I'm Virginia Lindsay of Ginger Cake Patterns and Design, and I'm here today to share with you this great quilt I made using all organic fabrics from Organic Cotton Plus. One of the best things about this quilt is that you can make it in about 3 hours start to finish. It's made using fat quarters, and I love these beautiful fabrics. They're bright and they're fun and they're such high quality. I think you're really going to enjoy making this. So let's begin. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is make the quilt top. I have 12 fat quarters here from our 4 different fabrics, which means I have 3 of each fabric. And I'm going to take, you can see when you hold up a fat quarter that it's a rectangle, not a square. So since you have 3 of each colorway, 2 of the fat quarters we're going to take all of these in half, and one of them we're going to do lengthwise, and then we're going to rip in half the widthways so that you have these 2 kind of fatter rectangles. Okay, so I'm going to just do the rip here on the long one. I'm going to measure it, and it is, of course, 18 inches. So I'm going to make just a little cut right here at the 9. With my, you can do this with scissors too. I'm just using my my rotary cutter, and then I have my little cut right here, and I just rip. So if you've never been a fabric ripper before, you'll be like, oh no, because you have this little curling, but really it turns into a really nice cut. So I have two kind of long rectangles here, and then I'm going to do the other 2 fat quarters in this nice checkered fabric, and these are going to be the chubbier rectangles. Now this fat quarter is 22.5 wide, so I'm going to cut this at 11.25. Just do my little cut right here, and then rip it, and I have these 2 little rectangles, and you can see how they are different from, a little shorter and wider than the first ones we just ripped. So I got those, and then I'm going to do this other one, and now I have 6 pieces from those 3 fat quarters. These are called fat eighths. And now I'm going to do that with the other 3 prints. 1, 2, where's that blue? 3. So you go ahead and do that with your fabrics. Okay, now that all the pieces are created, and I pressed all those little frayed edges down, you can go ahead and start assembling the quilt top. On my phone is where I have my quilt top. I took a picture of it from my computer, but this will be on my website for you to easily print out on your computer. You just read the comments below to go to my website and print out this the quilt top, how it's going to be arranged. So I'm going to start here with this first one, and this calls for a blue, a yellow, and the green. Now you can see there's not really a green, so we're using this one, this print, as the green. So I have my blue, my yellow, and my green. Now because the fabrics are different widths, this isn't going to be, the blue is longer. So you can see this will be the first block I make, and then we're just going to go through and make all the different blocks that's on the pattern. So the next one I'm going to do is going to be pink, yellow, and blue. You can see right there, pink, yellow, and blue. So that would be the pink. So if I were doing the pink, and then we get the short ones over here that I had in this stack. Yellow. I'm going to assemble these 2 top blocks. This blue, yellow, and green, and this pink, blue, and yellow. And then I'm going to bring you back in, and I'm going to sew and then I'm going to bring you back and show you how we're going to continue on. Okay, so I made the top 2 pieces of the quilt top. And I had my little quilt map right next to me while I sewed to make sure that I had everything set up properly. So right here you can see, I just wanted to show you a few things from what happened. The first things you sew together are the two big ones, the 2 wider ones. And then you press out the seam, just like this, you can see right here. The seam is pressed out, and then you sew on the longer one, and then press that seam out, okay? You can see I have a cut like an inch on either end here. And what I'm going to do is just cut those, trim that right off like this. You can use a straight edge if you're not real confident in your ability to cut straight, and that would be fine too. And then this one, what's important is that this pink piece, see, so I created the second, this is the whole top, the first section of our quilt. The pink is the same length as these 2 put together. And even though the blue again is a little bit wider, I'm going to have to cut that off. And down here the yellow is a little bit wider, I'm going to cut that off. Since that's a little longer, I am going to use a straight edge. Okay, so I'm going to sew these 2 together, right sides together. And then I'm going to make a few more of the the blocks according to the map that you have printed out, or you could do it on your phone just like I did. I think it's a lot easier to have it printed out, but I'm just going according to my phone because I don't my color printer isn't working right now. So I just did this one, and next I'm going to do this and this, and you can see that it alternates so that the long piece is on the inside. It alternates, so you get a more scrappy look. So I'll check back in with you in a few minutes after I have sewn more of the blocks together. Well, the first piece that we made was this piece. So I sewed the yellow, and what's on our little map is the green. So I showed the yellow and the green together and made this seam, and then I sewed the blue right here onto both of them. Okay? Then next I sewed the blue and the yellow, right sides together on this seam, and then I sewed the pink along this seam to that one. And then I sewed the 2 together. Okay, in the meantime I checked to make sure that they were the same size. The next thing I sewed this one, and then sewed them together, and then I made this one and sewed them together, and then finally I made this one and sewed them together. But the important thing for the overall look of the quilt is to have this center seam going well together. So I'm going to trim off, you just use my scissors right here and cut down this seam so that it matches here, so we have a nice straight line, and this one. And then I'm going to baste the quilt top together. Okay, now you can see that I've trimmed down the batting and the quilt backing all around the quilt, and I've done my basting. And what I've decided just to do is to use pins and place them every foot or so. I have pins all over the whole quilt to keep it in place. This whole process of basting should take you about 30 minutes, because what you need to do is you need to make sure that first of all, you lay down your quilt backing, and you want to spread that out and spread that out and spread that out, and make sure that it is nice and flat. Press that quilt backing first if it's wrinkly. And then you want to put down your the batting, the next layer of your sandwich here, and you spread that, you flatten that out, and you flatten that out, and you flatten, make it nice and smooth. And then finally lay the quilt top down on top of it, and again smooth and smooth and smooth and smooth until everything fits nicely together. And then is when you do your pinning. And for me, I have this kind of harsh rug underneath it. You either want to do it like on hardwood floors or with like a rug underneath it that isn't real, that you're not going to get with your pins. And then you just want to make sure you get through all the layers and get through, you want to get your corners, and then just kind of get a system going where you have all your pins in. And that is the basting. That's how you baste. Now I have my sewing machine set up on this nice, this is my work table. It's usually full of fabric, but right now I've cleared it all off so that I can sew on it with my quilt and have plenty of space. I did just replace my needle. It's nice to start with a fresh needle on a quilting project. And now I'm just going to do just a real kind of random meandering quilting. I'm starting in the center and going all the way down that center seam I talked about before. Just, you can see how I'm just kind of moving. And I like to do a lot of quilting this way. I think it's very forgiving. And with these kind of fabrics, it ends up looking really good. So I'm just going to readjust my fabric here. And continue making sure that nothing gets pinched and that the fabric stays nice and flat. And if along the way you run into a pin, you can take it out and set it over to the side. Or I just sewed over a pin and that's fine too. Okay, that was the first line. And now what I'm going to do is move over to the side and then continue. And if you can see here on, I'll bring this in nice and close. If you can see this right here, you can see how I made that kind of it almost looks like a wave of back and forth. And this is very forgiving and easy way to sew a quilt. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to move over this way, or I can move over this way and sew another one next to it about 3 or 4 inches apart, and sew it up and down again in my wavy kind of curly manner, and then keep moving. This should take you, if you're able to just sit here and do it, it should take you about an hour, maybe less. Okay, now I've done all my my quilting on the top here, and you can see it goes all the way through to the back side. This is not perfect quilting. There are things like you can see right here I have a little pucker. I'll probably just take that out and redo it. But one of the great things about making a quilt is that it is very forgiving. I mean, this is a large piece, and I'll just hold my fabric out and do that. And once you put the binding on and wash it, everything seems to kind of shrink up. Even though I pre-washed, things still will kind of shrink up, and your quilt is going to look really nice even with a few little puckers and other things. My next step is going to be, I'm going to fix that one little area right there, and then my next step is going to be to trim down all of this extra fabric that's the batting and the backing, to get it to be all nice and even with the quilt top. And then I'm going to take that twill tape. Where is that? I'll get it in just a minute. I put it over there. Oh, there it is. I'm taking the twill tape, and I'm going to show you how we're going to use this to make a really nice binding like this. Okay, now I have the edges all trimmed up, and I've been putting the binding on using pins. And the way that you do this is kind of fun. It's sort of fun because you just kind of use your fingers to feel, instead of being. The binding has this really nice twill tape, and you're just using your thumb and your pointer finger and just kind of feeling where they come together. Almost like you're going like this, but with the binding. So you can feel through the layers of fabric what it feels like. And then I'm just putting a pin in. So, and then I'm gonna sew along this top edge here, make it real pretty on the front. And then when I look on the back, if there's areas where I missed it, those are ones I'm just gonna do a little hand sewing. I wanted to show you here at the corner, you obviously have 4 corners to get through. And I wanted to show you how I made the corner look nice. And what you're going to do is you're going to get all the way to the corner, just like this. And you can see right here that the pieces are coming together, and you kind of use your finger to make it poke out like so, and then just simply fold those pieces down together so that you create a nice mitered corner, and like that, and then just kind of keep going. Here I am working on the binding, and as you can see, I have it I've been sewing it a little ways, just kind of holding it down and going slowly, and it's doing a nice job of catching both sides. It looks better on the front side, but it still looks pretty darn good on the back too. So I'm going to continue and I'm going to show you how I'm just kind of moving right along here and readjusting as I go, and this nice twill tape is working really well for our picnic quilt binding. Taking out the pins when I get to them and just moving right along. Always readjust with the needle down in the quilt in your project. That means your needle doesn't move around as you kind of adjust your fabric and everything. Okay, now I'm at the corner, which you can see right here. I'm at the corner, and I want it to make it look really nice. I'm going to do a little readjusting. And use my fingers to kind of hold it down, and then get right there to where the twill tape overlaps. Make my 90-degree turn and continue. Stopping to readjust and continuing. Okay, real quick, I'm going to show you how to put the two ends of the binding together. You can see right here that I have a blue binding combined with my pretty twill tape. I had to create about an extra yard or so because I didn't do a good job of measuring. That's not going to happen to you. You're going to have two pieces of the twill tape to add together. So yours is going to be actually a little bit easier to put together than mine. I had to create this out of some scraps of the blue because I didn't measure correctly. But I'm going to give you the correct measurements. So what you do is you want to kind of pull them together, and you're going to have a tail on either side. You want to stop about 6 inches or so from the end of either of the binding pieces coming together. So you want to stop so you have a nice space here, so you have plenty of wiggle room, and you want to figure out where, kind of pull them not too tight together, but about right there, so that you create this little seam with your fingertips. Now you don't want to create the seam going out like this. You want to create it going in like this, and that way when you sew this together, you'll be able to, the seam will be covered up inside the binding. Okay, so I'm just gonna put a pin in right here, and then go over to my sewing machine and sew across this line right here, and then we will be then I'll be able to, I'm gonna wash the quilt and show you the finished product, and you are gonna love it. So pretty already. Okay, the last thing to do is to wash and dry your quilt, and then you will have a finished, gorgeous picnic quilt. I'm so excited about how this turned out. You can see that it's the washing made it so soft and pretty, and the binding with the twill tape turned out great. And these fabrics are bright and beautiful and perfect for a quilt this summer. You can also use it as a lap quilt. It's the perfect size for using inside too. So let me know if you have any questions, and thank you again to Organic Cotton Plus for providing these beautiful organic fabrics. And I hope you get to make one. Happy sewing!